Static variables and methods. The word static denotes variables and methods that fall under a class rather than an object of that class. Let's look at this class temperature to take a closer look at how static variables work. So here we have two variables. One is a double temperature and one is a double called max temp. Max temp is static while temperature is not. Here we have a constructor and it takes in a double T. And first we have, in the first line, we are setting temperature to the value of T. And then we also have this conditional right here, this if statement that says if T is greater than the existing value of max temp, set max temp to the value of T. So it's important to note what this exactly is doing. It's basically saying that anytime we get a temperature passed in to this constructor that is greater than a temperature we've had in the past, set that new temperature to max temp. Let's look at this main method and see how this implementation works. So we're creating three new objects of the temperature class. One is we're passing in the value 75. The second we're passing the value 100, and the third we're passing the value 65. So let's look at what happens each time we pass these values in. So when we pass in 75, temperature gets set to 75, which is all good. And then over here, it says if T is greater than max temp. Max temp is initially 0. So 75 is of course greater than 0. So max temp is now 75. All right. Knowing that max temp is 75, let's go to T2, this object T2. And we're passing in 100. So when we're passing in 100, temperature of course gets set to 100. But now we have T equal to 100 and max temp is now 75 as we said earlier. 100 is greater than 75, so max temp is now 100. Lastly, let's see what happens when we add this object T3. We're passing in 65 to the constructor this time. So temperature is now 65, but 65, which is the value of T, is not greater than 100. So max temp does not change and remains 100. So therefore, when we do system.out.println max temp, and then we print out the value of max temp, we're going to get max temp 100. This is a useful way on how to use static variables. If we ever have to keep track of some maximum across multiple objects, we need a static variable because we're going to need a variable that works across multiple objects and not just gets reset each time we create a different object. So that's a possible use case of static variables.